seasons are changing and the weather is changing, Lord. Different things are going to distract us. Different things are going to pull us away, Lord. But I thank you for enjoy each other's presence and fellowship and just love on you, God, and allow you to love on us. And so I pray that you continue to be with this ministry, be with this youth group, be with these students as they go through a lot in their daily lives in school, Lord. And just I pray you just use this message this morning to speak to everyone here, God, and let them know, God, that you are amazing and that you love them and that you're so glad that they are here this morning. So I thank you and I praise you. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. So last week, if you guys weren't here, we talked about how faith is greater than fear. How your faith has to be greater than your fear. You can't be afraid to let your faith show. You can't be afraid to let that be something that is dominating in your life. And faith is scary because it's believing in something you necessarily can't see, right? It's trust. It's this deep belief that kind of motivates you and drives you to certain actions, right? So we can't be afraid to live by faith, and the fact that your faith can overcome that fear. That's why it's so much greater than fear. Because you have faith in God, you have trust in God, you have faith in His promises, and you believe in those things, then they can help you overcome any fear you face in life. They help you overcome any trials you have in life. And it may not seem like it, but it's true. And so, as we move forward here, and once the thing too, is some scripture to tie along with that is Hebrews 11:6. It says, "And without faith, it is impossible to please Him." Because it is impossible to please God because anyone who comes to Him must believe that He exists and that He rewards those who earnestly seek Him. So without faith, it's impossible to please God. Without trusting in Him, without having that relationship, without believing in Him, it's impossible to please Him. Right? I mean, if you don't believe in me, if you don't trust in me, you're not going to do things to please me, right? I mean, it makes kind of sense. They kind of go hand in hand. It says, because if anyone who comes to Him must believe that He exists. If you come to God, you must believe, you must have faith that He's real. And that He rewards those who earnestly seek Him. And I love that last part because it's not just a matter of, oh, I found you. You're seeking after Him. You're going after Him. You're seeking Him, right? You can't play hide and seek without seeking the people hiding, right? You're just going to stand there and wait for them to pop out, and that's not going to happen. You earnestly seek after that. Same way God rewards those who earnestly, who die-heartedly, who, man, just gives it their all into seeking God. And that kind of ties in what we talked about the first week, is how effort is greater than excuses. It takes effort, right? I mean, if you're playing hide and seek, I can count, and then I just stand there and I'm just looking. It's not much effort, is it? And I'm not really earnestly seeking. And if I give effort and I go seek and I go hunt that person down, I'm going to find him. Same way with God. God rewards those who earnestly seek and give that effort in trying to find Him and going after Him. And so that's what happens when you have faith. It's impossible to please God, and man, it happens when you earnestly seek Him. And so today we're looking at action is greater than apathy. Anybody know what apathy is? What it means? I looked it up because I kind of knew, but I wanted to, be sure. So apathy is a lack of interest, enthusiasm, or concern. Just in a nutshell, it's just bleh, right? Somebody who has a lot of apathy is somebody who doesn't show a lot of enthusiasm, doesn't show a lot of interest in something, or they're not concerned. They're just So you probably see that a lot in people that you know. People have a lot of apathy sometimes, and you might have a lot of apathy sometimes in your life because you just don't show a lot of enthusiasm in things. And so this morning, as we look into our relationship with God, we cannot experience this. We cannot have this be greater in our life. And, it's kind of something we have to have action in. We're going to look at some scriptures in Revelations here, and we're going to kind of pull it apart and we're kind of look at these things because we're going to look at this church who experienced a lot of this. Because they were just blah, basically. Revelation chapter 3, starting in verse 14, these are a part of Revelations where these letters are going out to these different churches. And if you ever study Revelations, and I hope to do another study in Revelation soon if you guys are ever interested, because it's amazing stuff. It's scary, it's frightening, it's terrifying, but it's awesome and interesting and cool, all at the same time. That's a lot to handle. But anyways, there's a section of Revelations where it writes these letters to all these different churches because they're all doing something different. They all have some good things, they all have some bad things, and this one particular church touches on having a lot of apathy, so to speak. It says, write this letter to the angel of the church of Laodicea. This is the message from the one who is the Amen, the faithful and the true witness, the beginning of God's new creation. I know all the things you do, that you are neither hot nor cold. I wish that you were one or the other. But since you are like lukewarm water, neither hot nor cold, I will spit you out of my mouth. So we're going to pause right there because we see this opening thing. It says, I know the things that you do, and you're lukewarm. You're neither hot nor you're cold. You're not one or the other. And it would be better if you were one or the other. It'd be fine. It'd be better if you were cold. See, now that says a lot about it because you look at this and what this means, it means in our faith. It means in our walk. It means in our relationship with God. You're neither hot nor you're cold. You're just meh. And this letter is saying, I'd rather you be cold. That's how strong this is. It'd be better if you're cold because, hey, if you're cold, at least you know where you are. At least we knew where you stood. And, hey, we can work on making you warm. But when you're trying to ride in the middle and you're just meh, that shows a lot of apathy. It shows a lack of concern, a lack of enthusiasm, and you know, you're not willing to go either way. You're just kind of riding that fence. And we've talked about that already in the past weeks. That there is no riding the fence. It's either going towards God or there's going away. But there are people that are lukewarm, and this church is an example of those people that we see today. They're lukewarm. Lukewarm Christians is what they're called. Because they're neither hot nor they're cold. They're not either on fire for God or they're not really away from God. They're just trying to be in that middle. And we can't do that because that shows no enthusiasm. That shows no interest. That shows no concern for your well-being as well as your relationship with Christ. And so that's what you look at. This church is known for being lukewarm. They had extreme apathy in life and in their walk with God. Just, man. And so we all have moments like that in our relationships. We all have moments like that in our relationships here on earth. And we all have moments like that in our relationship with God. We're just, meh. We're just kind of going through the motions. We're just kind of doing it. No real effort. No real actionable thing. We're just kind of riding that fence, trying to ride that coast, that wave. But see, we can't do that. We got to be conscious and be aware of that because, you know, we all have moments like that. But see, there's a difference between just going through like a rough patch where it's just kind of slow and you know, in a time where you show no interest or enthusiasm in your relationship. See, it's okay. You can go through a rough patch where, man, you're not really progressing, but you're not really following. It's okay because sometimes it's just a rough patch. You're just dealing with a lot of stuff. It's hard to, you know, but sometimes that'll pass. Right? You know, that'll come and it'll go. But see, there's a difference between the moments like that and moments where, like, you're just sitting there showing no interest in your relationship with Christ. You're showing no concern. You're not worried at all about where you stand. Because even the greatest, you know, strongest Christian who has an awesome relationship with God still needs to be concerned about the relationship with God. Because you can't just reach this level, oh, okay, good, I'm here. Now I'm safe. No. You always want to make sure it's strong. You always want to keep feeding into it, right? Just like our relationship with one another, we can't just go and do the minimum and then, okay, we're good now. No, you got to keep going. You got to keep showing interest in it, right? And so there's a difference between just kind of going through this rough, slow patch in your relationship with God and actually not showing any interest, not being concerned, not being enthused. And enthusiasm is huge. We need to be excited that Christ is in our life. If that excitement's not there, that means you're on that fence and you're a little bit We need to find that spark, right? We need to find those things that get you excited again. Because despite the hardships of this world, we tend to like dwell on that. We tend to just like focus on all the bad stuff and what we can't have and what is not going good for us and all that stuff. We need to be excited about the fact that we are serving God. You need to be excited that you know Jesus. You've experienced His joy and His peace and His happiness in your life. And that should excite you to go share that. That excites you to go show the world that. But that enthusiasm can get stamped down very easily because of what this world does to you, or because of this apathy that we experience. And sometimes it might start out as this rough patch, but you never really get out of it. You never really get past it. You end up getting stuck right there, riding that fence, being this lukewarm Christian. And we see what happens is I will spit you out of my mouth. Right? Who likes room temperature water or pop? You want it ice cold, right? You want your warm beverages warm and your cold beverages cold. You don't want it in between, right? It's kind of gross. You can drink it, sure, right? But who wants to just, like, I imagine, like, I'm a Mountain Dew drinker, right? And that Code Red, I don't really go off from original, but I always imagine that Code Red being like cough syrup. Now imagine if it was just kind of like not cold, and you just opened a warm can. It probably really would taste like cough syrup, because it's not cold. It's just room temperature warm. A lot of stuff doesn't taste that good. We heat up our food to something hot. Sometimes we eat cold food, but it's got to be cold. But some things don't do good in the middle. Some things just aren't right. And so in this analogy, if you're lukewarm water, if you're neither hot nor cold, I'm going to spit you out, because there's no room for apathy in a life of Christ. There's no room for that. And so that's the thing we need to look at. We need to look at this and be like, okay, am I lukewarm? Am I stuck in the middle? Am I just being here? Am I just going through this little rough patch and I'm working my way out of that hole? Or have I never left it from months or years ago? Because we need to be excited about our relationship with God. It goes on in verse 17, it says, "You say I am rich, I have everything I want, I don't need a thing. And you don't realize that you are wretched and miserable and poor and blind and naked." See, we go through life thinking that we have everything that we want, or that we can achieve everything that we want. We go through this life thinking, okay, well, I have everything I want, or man, I want that, and I can get that. I can go and achieve that. And if you look at what this is saying, they're saying, you say that I am rich and I have everything I want, I don't need a thing. But in reality, you don't realize that you're miserable, that you're wretched, that you're poor and you're blind and you're naked, because you're not focused on the right things. You're not looking at the right things, the right perspective, and so you think you're rich, you think you have everything, but you're really not. The reality is that without God, we have nothing of value. Without this relationship with Christ, we have nothing that is really worth anything. Paul says that in his writings. He says that everything I compare to nothing compared to the relationship with Christ. Everything that I have, everything that I own, everything I can achieve is nothing compared to the relationship I have with Christ. Paul says that. And we need to adopt that mentality that we can't be like this and say, "Oh, I have everything I want. I have everything that I need. I don't need anything." That's not true. And you might have God in your life, and you can say, "Well, I have God in my life. That sustains me." Great, awesome. But you need to make sure that you're still excited about that. That you really, truly still feel that way. Because you don't want to be lukewarm. You don't want to be that halfway in the middle. So then it goes on to say, after saying, you don't realize that you're wretched and miserable, poor, blind, and naked. He says, "So I advise you to buy gold from me. Gold that has been purified by fire." Which is like pure gold. "Then you will be rich. Also buy white garments from me, so you will not be ashamed by your nakedness. An ornament for your eyes, so you will be able to see. I correct and discipline everyone I love, so be diligent and turn from your indifference." So here they're stating that God can provide everything that you need. Before it says you don't realize that you're poor. Well, buy gold. Get gold from me. It's been purified. Purest gold. Okay, there you go. Buy garments from me so you won't be naked. Okay, there you go. White garments. You're good. Going through all these things of saying, "Hey, get ornament from my eyes so you're not blind anymore." All these things that the previous scripture said that you are, thinking that you have everything you need, God can provide everything that you would ever need. And so it's trying to encourage this church that you can't be lukewarm. You need to step that up. You need to be excited. You can't be apathetic. You can't have this apathy, this lack of concern, this lack of interest. You need to be excited. Not meh. Because God can provide everything you could ever want. You just got to ask for it. And I love what he says here. He says, "I correct and discipline everyone I love. So be diligent and turn from your indifference." I correct and discipline. Correct and discipline. Correct and, say it with me, correct and discipline. It's really hard to swallow that coming from the mouth of God. But who does he correct and discipline? So, and we don't think correction and discipline come from love. A lot of times we're corrected and we're disciplined out of negative circumstances, right? And that's true. But no one takes the effort to correct you or discipline you unless they want to see you be better. Deep down inside, that's where the heart of correct and discipline comes from. We look and we view, how God looks at us. We look and we see, if we try to frame our mind and how God looks and tries to raise us, is that if we are going through this life, he's going to want to correct us because he doesn't want us to keep making mistakes. He's going to discipline us because he doesn't want to keep us doing bad things. And he does so out of love. Now, we humans may not get that picture correct. We humans may not be able to portray that, very correct, right? We just may not be able to do that a lot. A lot of times that this correctness and this discipline comes across very negative. You're not doing it the way I want you to. I'm mad at you because you're not doing what I want you to. We can do that. But the original intention from this comes from God, and it's all out of love. And I just had to take a moment to highlight that because, man, that is so awesome, so cool to look at that, is that God corrects and disciplines me because he loves me. Now, that thought alone should excite me. That thought alone should kick me into gear and put some action behind my faith. Verse 20, "Look, I stand at the door and knock. If you hear my voice and open the door, I will come in, and we will share a meal together as friends. Those who are victorious will sit with me on my throne, just as I was victorious and sat with my Father on his throne. You see, this is that awesome analogy. That's kind of what that door is back there representing. Jesus stands at the door and he's knocking. This is an analogy saying he's standing in your heart and he's knocking. He's waiting for you to say, yes, Jesus, come in. He's waiting for you to open that door, to let him in. And he says that I will come in and we will share a meal together as friends. We'll fellowship. We'll have this relationship. And then those who are victorious will sit with me on my throne. We're going to go to heaven. You're going to sit up there with me. But nothing's going to go to that door. Nothing's going to turn that knob. That door's not going to get touched unless you put some action behind it and get up and go do it, correct? If we physically look at taking this analogy for real and say, I have to get up, move, go to the door, turn the knob, and open it. Action is required for that to take place. That's why your action has to be greater than your apathy, because we have to put our faith into action. We have to put effort into our faith and into our actions. We have to go and do something. We have to be excited. We have to be pumped. We have to show interest. We have to really be concerned about a relationship with Christ, because if not, we're going to stay here and we're going to hear that knocking and knocking and knocking and knocking. And Jesus doesn't force his way in. We can't be lazy and say, come in, yeah, come on in, no, come on in. Yeah. Yes, Jesus comes to where you are at in your life. He comes down to the darkest pits that you're in. You don't need to make yourself all shiny and polished before God comes to you. He comes where you are, but he will not force his way into your life until you make the decision to walk over, turn that door, and open it and let him in. That's the love God gave us by giving us that choice. He'll stand there, he'll knock forever if you let him. But it takes action to get up and go to that door and let him in. So that's the thing. It requires some sort of action to get up and go forth and do something. It takes effort to have faith, right? It takes effort. You gotta give some form of effort. You can't have excuse as to why your faith is weak, or as to why you don't do this or you do that. You gotta have effort. You gotta put forth some type of effort to have faith, because it takes that effort, man, to believe in something that you can't see all the time, to really put your trust in God who isn't tangible sometimes, and man, that takes some work. That takes some effort to have faith. Right? And that faith requires action. We can't just say, yeah, I have faith, and we sit on our hands and, yeah, I believe, I have faith. No. We have to have action. That sitting there on our hands is us being lukewarm, sitting on that fence being, I'm neither hot nor I'm cold. Because if I'm hot and I'm on fire for God, man, I'm doing something. You see excitement in my life. You see excitement in my eyes and my heart. You see me enthused. You see me interested. You see me concerned about everything that God would be concerned about. If you're not concerned about what God is concerned about, we got problems. And what's God concerned about? He's concerned about the lost. He's concerned about the brokenhearted. He's concerned about everything and everyone. That means we should too. So I'm telling you guys, as we get ready to close, and I want Ryan, if he can, to get a song ready. Just a time of response. You guys can just think about this, dwell on this, examine your life, because you need to look at what we've talked about these last few weeks and see what is greater in your life, because we need to live greater for God. We need to live greater for him. And sometimes that means our effort has to be greater than excuses. Our faith has to be greater than our fear. Our action has to be greater than apathy, this lack of concern, this lack of enthusiasm. Because I tell you what, guys, you cannot change your world, you cannot affect your community unless you're excited. Unless people see that excitement in you, right? I cannot come in this youth group and be meh and expect you guys to be pumped, to expect you guys to enjoy anything, right? No one wants to be around a mopey person, right? Doesn't it just bring you down? This person's, you know, they don't really care about much. No one wants to be around that. But man, anybody who's excited, who's energetic, who shows concern, and it's man, that's who you want to be around with. So your action has to be greater than apathy. You need to put forth this effort in your faith, and you have to show action behind it. He's at that door knocking and knocking and knocking. And even if you accepted Him the first time, what's happened in your life is you've been on fire for God, you've been excited, you've been pumped, you've been going through things, but then the world knocks you down. It bats you around a few times. It distracts you. Maybe bad things haven't happened to you. Maybe nothing bad has happened to you. But then you wonder why you're not close to God. Maybe simply because Satan doesn't have to do bad things to you to make you go away from God. He just needs to get your mind off God. He just needs to distract you. That's all He's got to do. He doesn't have to take your legs out from under you. He doesn't have to let you lose a loved one or put bad thoughts in your head or do all this stuff. He doesn't have to do that. All He has to simply do is just get your eyes off God long enough, and then you do the rest. Because you're going to just, oh, okay. That's all. That's all it takes. Isn't that sad? If I stop and think about it, man, that's sad. If that's all it takes for me, squirrel, and I'm gone, Satan's got it easy, guys. And it's mostly because we let him. Because we have such apathy in our life, such lack of concern, lack of enthusiasm, that we let that squirrel distract us. But it doesn't have to be that way. Sometimes we just need knocked back on course. And so even though he's been knocking on the door, you let him the first time, maybe after that you've just been distracted. But instead of knocking on the door, maybe he's just knocking on the barrier that you put up. He's just trying to get your attention again. He's just trying to get your focus back on him. So you're like, oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot, man. I was excited. When I let God in my life, man, I was pumped. I was doing awesome things. I was going to youth group. I was having fun. I was fellowshipping, and I was growing in my faith. I was learning all kinds of new stuff about God. Man, why did I stop? Oh, I know. I saw a squirrel. Something shiny. I joke, but honestly, guys, that's how easy it is for us. That's why it takes a lot of effort. And our faith has to be solid and to stay focused on Christ. So I just want you guys to take a moment, examine your relationship, examine all these things that we've talked about, and see what's living out greater in your life. What is dominating your life right now that maybe isn't of God or from God? And if you don't know, then hey, there you go. There's something for you to continue to pray about. Because we need to look at how we can live greater. How can we influence and impact our community and our world? Because you guys all have friends who need to know Jesus. Who need to know what it means that you can have fun and you can have a full life without the stuff that they do and the things that they say. And if you don't realize that yourself, then come talk to me and I'll help you understand it together. So just take this moment and just examine that. How can you live greater? How is your action greater than your apathy?